team and I welcome you to our inaugural Women's History Month luncheon, which we look forward to continuing the tradition each and every year that the people give us the opportunity to serve them. I first would like to thank Rufi Natarajan and all of the Precinct 4 team members who made today happen. Can you raise your hands, please? I'm incredibly blessed to have your partnership, and thank you especially to our Chief of Staff, Alice Lee. She embodies public service. Thank you, Alice, and thank you to the Precinct 4 team for being here. And thank you all. I look around this room and I am deeply energized and proud and moved. My cup is full, seeing so many strong, brilliant, committed, persistent women who I admire and who do so much in our community. So thank you for your service and your leadership. So today is a celebration of the strides we've made together in Harris County. Your presence here is a testament to the women, past and present, who have paved the way for us to have a seat at the table. The Honorable Cohen kicked this off. She has been a role model to me and to so many of us for years. So thank you for gracing us with your presence. I'm grateful to know you, I'm grateful to learn from all of you, and I'm grateful to serve alongside of you. Today we're celebrating, as we should, not only in March, but 365 days a year. We should be celebrating women, we should be celebrating each other. But we're also gathered here today for a really important reason. We all know that our work is far from being done. The disparities that we will hear more about in the economic, employment, and healthcare outcomes for women is stark. And here in Harris County, the poverty rate for women is 50% higher. 50% higher than it is for men, which is unacceptable. Still, women are paid on average only 80 cents to every dollar that a man earns. That is unacceptable. These are more than statistics, these are lived realities that affect people's lives every day, all day, and that together, the leadership in this room and beyond, we need to work every day to make sure we're closing those gaps. It is our responsibility to fight for gender equity, to make Harris County an even greater place to live for all residents. All of us in this room have stories about how we faced unique challenges in our roles that our male counterparts may not have experienced. Think back to that moment, or frankly, moments plural. Think back to those moments and how those moments should be in the future. And you think about it, us as women, we've only had the right to vote a little over 100 years. In Harris County, in its over 145-year history, this is the first time there are two women serving on Commissioner's Court at the same time ever in Harris County history. So I thank Judge Hidalgo and her leadership and partnership, but can you imagine the first time ever there's two women in the year 2023? That is not okay. I'm the first woman in Precinct 4, the first time a mother has been elected in her own right to Commissioner's Court. And I raise this not because of me, but because of all of the ceilings y'all in this room have broken and the ceilings that together we continue to break. We must. When Judge Hidalgo and I sit on the dais with wonderful men who support us, and today I also want to thank all of the men, both the few good men in this room, but also my dad, my husband, and the strong men in our lives who support us. Commissioner Ellis, Commissioner Garcia, Commissioner Ramsey, the men who are there in this dais. But the first time that we have two women, we sit there and it's more than just taking votes. It is voting on things that will make a palpable difference in the lives of everyone who lives here in Harris County. And I keep that front and center every day. When we think about this, I think of my 3 little girls. And unfortunately, they're growing up in a time now where they have fewer rights than their grandmothers. And we may share differing views on many issues, but I hope we can all agree that women and all of us as a community need to be moving forward. There is so much work to be done. We don't need to be retrogressing. Together we need to advance the ball. And it's hard. We all know how hard it is in each of the spaces we lead in. But every day we need to be working together. So what we are committed to as a Precinct 4 team is making sure that we're keeping all people of Precinct 4 front and center. And we look forward to working with many, and y'all will be acknowledged in a bit, of the great leaders in Harris County to make sure that more women are appointed to boards and commissions, to make sure that women in minority-owned businesses get a more fair share of county contracts, to make sure that we are following every law that the state and the federal government prescribe onto Harris County, but doing so in a way that builds on the progress that I am so proud to call Harris County. For example, making sure that there is accessible and low-cost access to contraception in family planning here in Harris County. Because as women, we are in charge of our own destinies, and we need to make sure that we're doing that for every other woman. So today in our panel, which will be moderated by my sister and dear friend and our judge of Harris County Civil Court at Law number 4, Judge Singh, she will be moderating today's panel, and the panelists you will hear from, I know will blow you away with their knowledge, expertise, and vision for the county. Once again, we're here celebrating you. We're here celebrating your mothers, your grandmothers, your great-grandmothers, the sacrifices they have made to get us here, and collectively, the vision, the effort in this room that will keep persisting to make sure that Harris County is more fair, not only for all women, but for all people.
Listen, ladies, if you guys did not have imposter syndrome before you walked in today, I'm about to introduce our panel. So I am very, very, very excited to hear from these 4 women.
Hi, I'm Laurie Christensen. I'm your Harris County Fire Marshal. I have been blessed to have worked for Harris County since 2004. And when I came here, I was an employee number 16. So now we have 145 employees. Our Commissioner's Court has been amazing to us. And I'm excited about some of the questions you're going to ask about how we have increased the number of women since I became Fire Marshal in 2018. I'm really excited.
I'm Abby Kamen. I'm the council member for District C. It's my tremendous honor. I just have to say, a lot of not just constituents, but amazingly dear friends that I love. Like, it's amazing to see this room. And Commissioner Briones, I love that I can say Commissioner. Thank you for doing this series and championing at the county all the work that needs to get done and is now getting done, in part because of you and of course Judge Hidalgo. Again, I'm Abby Kamen. I'm the council member in District C. I'm also our chair of Public Safety and Homeland Security. And that comes with it a very unique perspective as a woman, I will say. And on top of that, we have, for not the first time ever, but in a long time, a majority of women serving on council, which is amazing to see that. I don't know if this has been verified, but I know under Mayor Turner, we've appointed the most directors that are women, women in leadership roles. So all over you're seeing this change, but I will say that's also in large part because of my predecessor. I call her still the Mayor Pro Tem, Ellen Cohen, who is not only a mentor to me, but someone I look up to in so many ways. Before I came into office, and I'm sure we'll get to some of like those things that as women we push on, but you could not say breast at the horseshoe before she got there. And that's something that I will always remember and appreciate.
I'm Dr. Laura Murillo, President and CEO of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the founding executive producer and host on Univision, also Odyssey 6 stations, and CBS KHOU with an audience reach of 3.3 million, and a #1 international bestseller, Lead in Life, People, Passion, Persistence, How to Succeed in the New Era of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and a 3-time University of Houston Cougar. Go Cougs!
Barbara Robinson. I'm the Executive Director of Harris County Public Health, and I believe my appointment, I'm coming up on my 2-year anniversary, but it will be 2 years in the trenches come April. It has been quite the ride. I came from California, and I served 15 years at the federal level, overseeing federal healthcare programs. And my last 5 years in California, I worked at the local level, running the health department for Sonoma County, as well as my last year running both the health department and the housing department, while also leading our COVID efforts. And so I just traded zip codes and traded up and came here to Harris County, where it has been a tremendous ride to address COVID in a state that's very different than California. So grateful when I got to my department. Public health is nationally a women-led field. My department was predominantly men. There were only 2 women in leadership, and I am so grateful that we've had an opportunity to create a leadership team that's reflective of the county. And quite frankly, having a lot of women leading in this space means that we're able to center equity, geographic equity, gender equity, racial equity, and I'm just excited about the work that we're doing. I'm so grateful that Commissioner Briones is here, supporting a lot of the work that we're going to be able to do to bring gender equity and racial equity to better outcomes in health for our county.
And so, I want to kind of touch on, Ms. Robinson, the work that you've done here. I know that we talked about the health disparities that you've probably seen throughout COVID-19 and how people were treated and patients were seen. I also understand that you guys are launching a maternal and child health program, and it sounds wonderful. Can you tell us more about that?
I was evaluating the services and programs that were at the department and was completely blown away that we didn't have maternal health programming. Every jurisdiction around the country, except for certain places, have maternal health. And the fact that we didn't have maternal health programming really spoke volumes to how we weren't necessarily centering women's health. And so we launched our maternal health program within the department, focusing on Black maternal health in particular, because Harris County has one of the most staggering, mortality rates for Black infants and Black women in the country. I heard a staggering statistic that if Harris County, Wayne County, which is Detroit, Michigan, and Cook County, which is Chicago, if we collectively reduced our Black infant mortality by 9%, the entire country would achieve equity in infant mortality. And so to be in a place where we have those kinds of outcomes is staggering that we didn't have the programs. And so our maternal programming is focusing on supporting birthing parents through the trajectory, prenatal, through conception, to delivery, to postpartum, and really helping to support and bring resources, because we know toxic stress and trauma that women often internalize have direct impact on the health and well-being, not just of the baby, but of women. And so to be an industrialized country with the level of maternal mortality that we have in Harris County is staggering, and we're doing our part to try to address those issues.
Councilmember Kamen, if you guys don't follow city politics, was the first person who was pregnant while in office. And so having that challenge plus the layer of COVID-19 on top of it really presented some challenges for the city. But from that was born great thought.
First and foremost, running for office, I committed to creating a women's commission for the city of Houston. Out of all the hundreds of boards and commissions that the city has, there's never been one that focused on gender equity. So, and I know a lot of those members are here today. Could you raise your hand if you serve on the women's commission? Ellen's telling me to speak into the mic. So we created the first ever Women's Commission, and a shout out to my sister, Beth Murfish, who chairs that and has been really my partner in crime through all of this. But working with Mayor Turner, we created this commission with the support of council and my colleagues, and then we went to work. And in light of COVID, what has become so apparent were all of the inequities that women face in our country were exacerbated. And one of those was the job losses that occurred and the strain. So whether that's, and I have some statistics here, but women were forced back into homes, whether it's because of the types of jobs that we traditionally hold or the caregiver burden. So talking about that support is critical. But what came from that work as the first charge of the mayor was creating paid parental leave for 22,000 employees that work at the city of Houston. And what's important about that is I was going through my own experience of pregnancy. And going into pregnancy, I had all these visions of grandeur. We're glowing, we feel great. It sucked. I had the hardest pregnancy, right? And then you throw COVID on top of it. And I thought to myself, how the hell do other women do this? And so I started talking to city employees and getting their stories. And some of our city employees are here today and were instrumental in that. But what came of it was when you take leave, especially under FMLA, you're forced to either use your earned and accrued vacation hours or you're taking unpaid leave. And that for so many is not possible. And first and foremost, it is not a vacation. You should not have to take your vacation hours to do it. And on the flip side of that, going back to health disparities, we found a lot of women having to take that time to take care of themselves while they're pregnant. Even if you have an easy pregnancy, getting to all of the appointments that you need. And that goes back to if you can't take the time off and you're not taking care of yourself, numbers of maternal mortality that we see. And again, COVID has exacerbated that. Just as a disclaimer, and I'll wrap it up quickly, when we talk about disparities, it is so important to note that the standard is comparing, I would say, the general population, right? But that's also including white women. And the disparities for women of color and what Black, Latina, et cetera, are so much higher. So in all the numbers, for example, Commissioner, you talked about 80 cents to the dollar. In Harris County, if you look at numbers from 2019, for every dollar earned by a white man in the county, a Latina woman earned only 38 cents. So that's just one of those. But back to what we did. So we championed and carried forward this policy for paid parental leave. And what that meant was you had prenatal wellness hours that are completely distinct from parental leave that you can take from and use as a bank when you're pregnant. But on top of that, whether you're a man, woman, non-gender conforming, you name it, you get your paid parental leave at the city of Houston following the birth or adoption of your child. And on top of that, 40 hours of child wellness to take care of your kid if they get sick, if they have to go to a doctor's appointment in that first year of life. All of that is now paid for. And our hope is, and I look to my dear friends in the private sector, that our private sector partners begin to emulate that. And we can start with government, but until it's trickling into all of the different sectors, women can't win and women can't be equal. And, Judge, to your point, when we talk about breasts, we need everyone to normalize conversations because, when Mayor Pro Tem, if I can share, was battling breast cancer, that's where it came up at the horseshoe. And that word had never been used before. But whether we're talking about periods, whether we're talking about breastfeeding, I was at a committee meeting. And luckily we were virtual because I'm sitting there pumping. I pump a lot. And you could hear the machine in the background making that noise. And I wanted to talk. So I went off screen, but I said apologies because of the background noise, I'm pumping. And one of the male council members said, whoa, that's too much information. And I said, no, it's not enough information. Because again, I'm in a position position where I could, because I was virtual, pump right then. But what about the woman that's sitting in a meeting that's running over and you may be leaking or there's things that we need that we are not talking about, but it's going to take all of us to actually have those uncomfortable conversations so that they normalize, and that the next woman, whether it's our children or our colleague, doesn't have to go through what we are going through. And because it's not an accommodation. When 51% of the population is going through something or has the potential to go through it, that's not an accommodation, that's just life.
I know within the court system, we were looking for pumping rooms exactly for that reason. I mean, I remember being in court and being engorged to it's so painful and not having that outlet. And she was the first person to sign off to say, yes, we should do this, to where we've identified rooms for attorneys to be able to pump in our court facilities. So again, representation really does matter. I feel like it's a broken record, but these are those contacts these are the connects that we need to make here to understand and to think about it. Because when you're speaking too, I'm thinking, wow, in the private sector, we've started to institute paternity leave before we stop calling maternity sick leave. Right? So that's a very great point to say government's leading.
Yeah. Women are 5 to 8 times more likely to have a caregiving impact on employment, and that's as of last year alone. But what's often lost in the caregiving is elder care. And so while we're talking about parental leave and all of these important issues, we're not even to a place where we're talking about the parent that we may have to care for, or somebody else that's a loved one, and that is a large gap that is still not touched on right now.
And so I want to ask you, first of all, people get really intimidated by saying this, but so what do we title you? You go by fire marshal?
Fire marshal, yes ma'am.
Isn't that official? People, mine's like a newly elected position, so people are like, what do we call you? Like, your highness and your what? I'm like, no. Your journey has been amazing. Obviously, I know Miss Robinson said she was one of 2 women that were in her space, and your space is desolate.
And now when I travel on the national or local, state level, you still see very few women at meetings. And when I talk about committee meetings or election meetings or any of those things in the fire and law enforcement services, I look around sometimes and there's been meetings, I'm the only female there. And it is difficult because, I think about some of the books we've read and talk about sitting at the table and, where's the restrooms and how you're treated differently. Those things still occur. And I am fortunate to be in a paramilitary organization, and for the most part, those in our organization, we treat each other with respect, but a lot of it's because it depends, they're looking at rank, not necessarily gender. And my mother never graduated. She quit school in 10th grade, and she just used to say, if you just graduate high school. And so for her, that's all you needed, right, to get out there. And what I started realizing as I got into the workforce and those things, again, what we as women oftentimes, and I see this with my grandson, I love to watch my 2 grandkids, I gotta mention that, my 2 grandsons, but what I find is when you watch a young man, 5 years old, they go out to start out playing baseball. They'll pick up that bat and they'll go out there and glove and they'll line them up against the cages. I don't know what it is, but instinctively, they're out there to compete with each other. And I remember as a young person, my mom was always kind of like, tone it down a little bit, because that's what we're taught. So one of the things that I try to do as I'm traveling or I'm on different things, and especially with my own staff, don't be afraid to raise your hand. Don't be afraid to be the first one to say, hey, I want to try that. And the reason being, we are the best multitaskers. I don't know if it's, I'm just going to tell you, and again, I try to always be careful how you say things, but it's an internal thing. We can multitask, whereas a lot of times, even with my command staff who are men, they'll be like, Chief, slow down, I got to focus on this. So that's what I find. And again, take that skill set. When I teach women in the service, I tell them, take that skill set to your advantage. While they're focusing on this particular case and doing all this, you're getting so many other things done that oftentimes that's what leads you up to the top. I would like to say that one of the things as I took over as fire marshal, I wouldn't say we've really focused on hiring women, but we've tried to say there are opportunities for women in this field, because that's what we don't see. You don't see us going out to the schools or to the colleges saying, hey, come be a police officer, come be a firefighter, as much as I'd like to see. We have 3 ladies right now, and it made me, when you were talking about this, I have 3 young ladies right now. They came to work for us. One was a homemaker and raised her children. They were in school. She felt like she could come back to work. She was fascinated with her volunteer fire department in her neighborhood. She came to work for us and said, she interviewed and said, I'd like to do this. So she's a fire inspector. And what we do is we say, I can teach you a skill. I can teach you how to pass a state test and learn that education. What I can't teach you is customer service. You've got to want to do that. You've got to want to serve people. Again, her mannerisms, everything was perfect for this position. We have another person that was 25 years dental hygienist, could no longer do that, carpal tunnel. And she had read some stuff online about me and done some things, and she contacted me and she says, do y'all train us? Like, I need another career. I've got to do something. Sure, come on. So we've got a homemaker, a dental hygienist, and one of our administrative assistants that came to work for us. It's pretty cool. She just needed, again, administrative assistant. You think about people that work in the offices. They came and said, hey, the sheriff's department's putting on the police academy at night. Can we go at night? So it doesn't cost the agency anything, but we sponsor them. I allow them to go, make sure we work through their hours. They're going to be graduating the police academy. Not only are they fire inspectors, so they work for us, but now they're going to be graduating after amazing 14 months, 4 nights a week. These people have children, they have multitasking. They're going to be graduating the police academy. Not only will they be fire inspectors, they'll be law enforcement officers. So what I'm excited about is to see that we are opening up saying, I can train you, I can give you state certifications, but you're bringing something to us that is invaluable to our public, because now they can go tell their story to other young women, especially that are coming up in the field, or even, the Priscilla that has 25 years in a previous career.
Yeah, but not only that.
We still have a place for you as an older person.
Doctor, speaking of recognizing multitasking, she established this Hispanic Chamber of Commerce that got nationwide recognition within 2 years. I mean, the amount of work that you and heart and soul you put into this organization and created it and put it out there. Please tell us about it, because you said I'm taking the bull by its horn.
So the Chamber's been around over 40 years. I've been president and CEO for the last 15, and you're correct. The first 2 years we stopped everything. I was not told by the great board that we were going to be evicted 2 months after I took the reins. That's okay. I didn't like the building we were in at the time anyway. So the bottom line is that we don't do anything by ourselves. I see my friends Claudia there, I see Jenna, I see Judge Medina, I see Jacqueline, so many people in this room, Elizabeth, who have succeeded in so many different ways. And every one of them will tell you that they had people there supporting, helping, pushing forward, and that's what it takes as women. So I want the women in this room to be bold, to take those steps of courage as I did 15 years ago, working for the CEO. I was the highest ranking Latina in the Texas Medical Center. I left that career. I left a boss who was developing me, that helped me develop skills that I never thought I'd have, to pursue an opportunity to lead a nonprofit organization that had its challenges, that did not have the money to pay me. And by the way, I refused to take a pay cut. I negotiated a lateral, built-in bonuses upon executing agreed upon objectives, which some of the men said, give it to her, she won't meet them anyway. Surprise, surprise. But again, I took that leap of faith, and many of my mentors said, Laura, you can do this, get in there, go. And I had other mentors who said, you are crazy, don't do it. You got a great position. But I like to think that my calling is to build. I love building. I don't want to go into something that's already great. I love to believe that I see things not for what they are, but for what they can be. And so together, we've established this chamber. We've got people like Lenore and so many other members who've been with us since I've been there from day one. It has been very challenging, but together we've had one focus and we've moved forward, and we have stellar board members. Diversity goes both ways. We were 100% Mexican American from 3 zip codes when I started on the board before I became president CEO. I was one of 2 of 25 men on the board of directors. We have flipped that. 40% of our board is non-Hispanic, and it also means young people. Where are the young people? Where are the older people who have that experience? So you've got to look at all of that. We can't just point our fingers at corporate America to say, why are there only 2% of Hispanics on corporate boards? So we have to do our part. And guess what? Today, we have CEOs of banks, of oil and gas companies, of healthcare. We have entrepreneurs because we understood the value of that diversity. And one thing on the being pregnant and on periods. So I am 5'10". Can you imagine me at 5.5 months pregnant, concealing my pregnancy because I was trying to get promoted and didn't want that to be held against me? 5'10", and when I say I was pregnant, I mean it. All of my body. But that's what I believed I needed to do to get that promotion, because I was working full-time. I was a full-time doctoral student. I had a 2-year-old toddler. My mother was dying, and I wanted to get the promotion. So I hid my pregnancy, went through the interview, continued taking my full-time doctoral classes, received the promotion, and on Monday, I took my blazer off and released all of these things I was wearing, and showed up on Monday, and they said, "What happened to you?" And I said, I got the promotion. So I like to believe that we've come a long way. There's still much to do. I'll leave you with this note, and why it's important, the roles that you play and that you advocate and that you understand the plight of women, is that I became the first Houstonian to serve on the Federal Reserve Board, not the Houston, not the Dallas, although I'm on the Dallas one as well. But this one reports to the Washington, D.C. Board of Governors, who are appointed by the President and approved by Congress, the first Houstonian. And during COVID, we had our Zoom meetings, and we would see the agenda of where all this ARPA money was going and what the challenges were, and I got that agenda, and I knew that in Houston at least, and the women that I was talking to, their biggest challenge was childcare. Are the kids gonna be in school? Am I gonna have to pick them up? Will they let me go and do all of these things? And nowhere on the agenda was childcare or women. So during the meeting with Jerome Powell, our chairman of the Federal Reserve, they said, are there any other items we need to put on the agenda that you all think are important? Houston, childcare, women, blah, blah, blah. Oh, well, is that really an issue? Said the white men who were 90% of the representatives on that committee. And I said, well, I wouldn't expect you all to know that, but yes, it absolutely is, and here's some data behind it. And it absolutely then got on the agenda, went to Congress, and then you saw some changes being made there to address, again, women's issues. Never underestimate the roles that you play and how much we carry all at once, and we do it gracefully, and we do it to the best of our ability. And I guarantee you this, if men had a period 7 days out of the month, we would only work 20 or 19 days a year. Thank you.
You know, as we sit, first of all, I want to make sure that we recognize this. I know you guys are not on the top of your game. There's higher to go for you guys. You're not done yet. I get it. But as you sit here today, emotionally, I just want you to sit in it and tell us, give me one word of how you feel being where you are with what you've done to this point.
It's every day, right, is a different challenge. I don't have one word. I think, you know, Harris County in the last couple of years has worked really hard to bring women in leadership. But it's not enough to just bring us to the table and bring us here. We also have to change the culture, which means there has to be pay equity. There has to be a culture of respect and understanding, and the same culture of accountability that we have for women, we need to have that for men. And so I think, my presence here, the intersectionality of being a woman and being Black, I'm here to continue to expand the conversation. So I guess I would just say, inspired to continue the conversation and to continue the fight for, pay parity and equity and centering women in their vision and leadership.
Thank you. Doctor?
Okay, I'll play within the rules. Empowered, and then the parentheses, to serve and help others.
Love it.
And I'm gonna break the rule, because I think we have to break
I mean,
the rule.
that's how we got here, guys.
Right, if anyone's watched West Wing, right, when President Bartlett, what he always said is, what's next? And I'm given this gift of a certain amount of time, and hopefully I'll win re-election, but how much can I get done with the time that's been given to me to make the most impact and difference for as many people as possible? And there's a lot to go, so Judge, forgive me, because there's two things we did not even touch on today. Abortion access, and I'm gonna say the word abortion access, and healthcare access, but also domestic violence and gun violence. So as we're, share public safety, I gotta talk about it. As we are talking about, and politics aside, violent crime. We are seeing violent crime rates decrease. At the same time last year, domestic violence numbers doubled. And what is the top weapon used in a domestic violence homicide? A firearm. So while we are dealing with this, and as I was sitting next to Ellen, got one of those notices, another school shooting in Nashville with children that are now dead. That's a private school too. We are not talking about it enough. And the Fifth Circuit just issued a ruling several months ago that and Judge, I'm sure you can appreciate what this means. The Fifth Circuit ruled that a law enforcement agency cannot withhold a firearm from an accused domestic abuser until it has gone all the way through to a final ruling. So there cannot be temporary restraining orders or red flag laws related to that. That's what we're dealing with right now. And again, I just want to leave with that, not on a depressing note, and I'm sorry.
No, actually, your word is going to be focused because you couldn't even tell us how you felt. So that's it. Council members, focused.
Yeah, but it's going to take all of us. And so when we talk about guns, when we talk about abortion, use the words and don't be afraid.
Chief.
Thank you, I'm gonna break the rules too, I'm sorry.
I mean, that's shocking.
Yes. Okay, Commissioner. So, but I do wanna say this, it's very interesting, as I've listened to all these ladies, and I've talked to a lot of you out there. You heard me say earlier, raised by a single mom. My mom passed away when she was 52. And so one of the things that for me has been, how do I live my dash? And that's all I've got, whatever my legacy is going to be. And so I've been very fortunate, one of the things I had told the judge was, I'm about commanding respect, not demanding respect. And that's one of the things that I try to teach. It's about our presence. It's about how we speak. It's about how we treat people. We talk about diversity. It's not something that comes up a lot, but as a gay woman who's married with a daughter and 2 grandsons, I mentioned my grandsons. But that being said, what I want people to know is that as a woman, you can do whatever it is you want to do. Is it hard? Absolutely it is. But if you want it, you stay focused, you surround yourself with people who are going to help you aspire to those goals. And just remember, it's about our legacy. It's about the dash that we live. Because one day I won't be fire marshal. I'll be retired and out fishing and doing things. But what I hope is that I have made memories with some of these people coming up in this business and in the aspect of helping others, that they can reach back and I can still offer that experience level. So I don't know what my word is, except that For me, it's just about leaving that legacy and helping others achieve their goals.
Judge Singh, thank you again to our wonderful panelists and leaders. Thank you. Thank you to all of you for everything you do every day. I wish my grandmas were alive. May they rest in peace. They would have loved this so very much. They had so many stories, and they were such feminists, and they were never able to really express who they fully were. And that is the invitation we have daily, and the invitation we should extend to others. That we create spaces where we can be our authentic selves. I'll never forget speaking, I'll say period one more time, breasts another time, and pregnancy. I was a young, baby lawyer working in a big law firm, and I had just got married and I got pregnant. And I went to talk to this female partner, and there were so few female partners, so few partners of color, and this happened to be a Latina partner at this law firm. And I wanted to tell her first because she had kids, and I thought that she would, be supportive and give me advice how to talk to others about it. No, on the contrary, she looked at me with disdain and said, "How could you do this? We just hired you and you're having a baby, quote unquote, this is career suicide." And that was from, and I'm Latina, right, as y'all know, from another woman, any woman, and from another Latina who I had looked up to until that point. And I remember thinking how disgusting that was, and how I would be damned if and when I ever had the opportunity to help lead others and run an organization. No one would ever feel like that. And we have so many other instances. All of us could be here for hours sharing stories. But I raise that because women need to support women.
Yes.
Amen. We all need to help each other succeed. Your success is my success is your success. And we need to support all people, because some of the best mentors in my life have been men. And I think of my little godsons, and we need to raise them to be men who see women truly, in every sense of the word, as equals. And every time someone tells my daughters, "Oh, you look so pretty," or "Oh, you're bossy," I'm like, hell no. No one's gonna call my daughters bossy. We are leaders. And so I raise this because when we help each other get a seat at the table, it's not just the seat at the table, it's how do we help each other thrive at the table. That's what it's all about. And I'm so thankful to know you all, to learn from you, to serve alongside you, and I'm incredibly thankful again to the Precinct 4 team. They're amazing. And we're still hiring, so please send great people our way, because I just love everything that is and everything that can be in this great precinct and this great county. So happy Women's History Month. Thank you, we celebrate you, we honor you, and we look forward to continuing to break down the barriers and ceilings together. And if you have a few moments, we invite you up to do a big group photo. And thank you again for taking the time to be here. Thank you.